Welcome to the Great Lakes Podcast.
I'm one of your many hosts, Addie Jones.
I'm Hallie Cook, and we're super excited to officially be launching this podcast. Our goal is to bring you product trends, new product, hear from Great Lakes experts, and overall just be an entertaining podcast to listen to like on a job site commute when you're out and about.
Yeah, our goal with this podcast is simple, and it's just to partner with you and help you succeed in the industry, and we are super excited to roll these out this season.
Without further ado, let's go.
Hello, welcome to the Great Lakes Podcast. I have Justin from MQuip joining us, as well as Jacob, who you've all seen before. Today, we're talking about MQuip, but Justin, I would love for you to just kind of introduce yourself, share a little bit about how long you've been in this industry, and yeah, just a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, so my role primarily is sales, but in a small business. Yeah, I've been with MQuip since 2014, so it's been a while. Previously, I was in construction, but yeah, no, I've been with the company for 14 years, and what I've been doing is like I said, primarily sales with a host of other things.
So let's just start off right away. For someone that has never heard of MQuip, how would you describe what this is in the simplest terms?
Yeah, in the simplest terms, we help contractors move heavy material without beating them up. So basically, what we're doing is we're providing equipment to make their lives easier. Primarily, we sell vacuum lifters. We do sell clamps as well, or supply clamps and vacuum lifters. Our equipment's used primarily in the landscape hardscape industry. We do get into other sectors like cladding and more industrial, so like more plant applications as well, but those are more custom. Our niche is really the landscape hardscape end of things, as well as concrete and other pavers as well. Yeah, so the goal is with us is just to lift and move heavy material faster and safer with more control for our contractors that are using our equipment.
Slogan, heavy lifting made easy is already taken, but I think that'd be a good one.
Jacob, how long has Great Lakes and MQuip been a partner?
Justin, you'd have to remind me, but I think we started maybe conversations in 2023, and I think we got our first units in 2024.
Yeah,
Okay,
no, that sounds in line. Yeah, so it's been
very
a
cool.
couple
So
of years.
kind of fairly new. What made us like decide to partner with each other? Like, what was the need there?
Well, Justin said at best it was a really niche product. Their sector is kind of like right where we fit in. We do a lot of hardscape sales and material handling even at our yards. So they came up. If you search Google, I just feel like they were probably the first ones that came up. We discovered that they were kind of looking for distributor partners in the U.S. and so it just made a perfect fit for what we needed.
Wow. So we just got connected through Google then, through search?
I think so. I think Josh, our Josh at Great Lakes had a role in this. He had seen their products before, seen them in development and use, and he was like, "Hey, I think this is the one to reach out to." So that's kind of the direction we went.
Awesome. Okay. So if, say, a contractor what would be a situation, I guess, where they might need MQuip, like right away, right now? Like what's maybe an example, like almost like a story problem that you guys could give us where MQuip comes in?
Yeah. So I think the biggest problem is intensive labor and how we relieve that. So contractors now and are dealing with bigger and heavier products. It seems to be every year these products are just getting larger and as we know, and I'm sure Jacob and yourself, you Addie, you hear it every day. I mean, I know we do. It's good labor is expensive and hard to find. So what our equipment does is what problem it solves is just alleviating that intensive labor by which it specifically say like a natural stone step. Previously crews were using straps, chains, forks to push these steps into place, and it was very intensive, and the product isn't cheap. The step itself, for example. So what our equipment does is, you can, instead of using manual labor to install it, you can use your mini excavator or skid steer, attach our vacuum lifter to it, lift the step up, without the manual labor, install the step, and it's as simple as that. So it completely removes the intensive labor out of the process. And if you have to remove the step, say you got to fix your base, for example, you just put the vacuum lifter back on it, you pull it back out, fix your base, level it out, put the step back in, and it's as simple as that. So it really takes a time intensive process and makes it quite simple and, removes that intensive labor out of it as well.
Yeah, I
For
think
sure.
Justin said it really well. I mean, it solves a lot of problems. It solves a time problem. It solves a safety problem. It solves a skilled labor shortage problem. It solves mobility problems, space saving problems. Like there are just so many issues that contractors run into, even on small projects with not just steps, but with walls, with stand up bluestone, with all sorts of different types of materials that they need to move. And running through straps and the delicacy of some of the materials and chipping, going from underneath just isn't the safest solution or the quickest, which is just all revolves around efficiencies. So MQuip really provides a safe and efficient solution for all hardscape installations, just even from not steps, but pavers too with the hoist unit. That's been amazing for large paver slabs, anything from like Beacon Hill XLs, Teco Blue Grandes, anything that fits that large format that has just become a little bit more labor intensive and hard on everybody's backs.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I just add on, I don't want to sound like we're here to replace labor or skilled labor.
Mhm.
For
Sure.
We're
sure.
not we're not replacing it. We're giving skilled crews, better tools to use, and we believe we're enhancing their work, not only making their lives easier, but we're enhancing their ability to do good work as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I work out with a lot of, owner operators, that run a small crew and they want to be able to keep it to that small crew. And we're just helping enable them to do it longer. Not everybody stays 26 forever. So, as you grow in age, we're just helping everybody keep doing what they love to do a little bit longer.
Yeah, no, you're as you were saying that, I feel like that's so great. I was thinking two things. Like, one, it's gonna save, like, it's efficient as far as money goes too, right? Like, we're saving money in the process. And then you saying like it's a tool and we're not replacing work. It made me think of like it's like the AI of that world, because when we added AI into it, it was like this big deal of like, oh, is it gonna replace people? And it's like, no, it's not. It's actually gonna enhance what you do so that you can be more efficient, save money, and ultimately like get more projects done, right? So no, I love that. And then Jacob, you started touching on it a little bit there, but what are some of the machines that we have, and like what benefits what?
Yeah, so MQuip has a huge lineup. We primarily focus on the vacuum lifting, starting with one of the smaller units, which is the Blizzard. It's kind of just a self-contained vacuum unit. Really awesome. I'll let Justin talk in depth more about it, but it's available in a couple of formats. Basically, a flurry format comes a la carte, two-man chain hook attachment. It's perfect for, it's got a 12 by 18 pad, 12-24 pad. I think it comes up to 34 inches too. So it's really got a nice setup there just for standard two-man lifting, put it in with an excavator. I prefer the hoist attachment personally, just because it has a little bit more flexibility with pads. They're interchangeable with a couple of cotter pins, which are really nice. But that will cover us on the dry cast concrete portion of things. And not only does it do just the two-man and interchangeable pads, but you can also run it on a hose and do single man with their style system. So I think it's just an all encompassing, really industrial contractor grade high flow system. And then from the high, and this is where we have a conversation with a lot of people, is you got to think about we've got, dry cast concrete, which is not compatible with their other lines of vacuum lifting, which would be the MK2, the Micro, and the Grizzly. And the two that I prefer would be the MK2, which would be everything that's not outcropping based, and then Grizzly for everything that would encompass the outcropping based stuff and precast. So smooth and textured. They're both very similar, except when it comes to size. I like the MK2 because I can throw it into the back of a car by myself. It's about 50 pounds, maybe it's more, but that's what it feels like to me. Same thing with the pads. They're just a little bit lighter weight. So as far as like mobility from job site to job site, I really like that unit. And it just has an awesome selection of pads and still a great flexibility of types of material that it works on. The Grizzly, in my mind, is its bigger brother. Triple the vacuum capacity as far as the heads, double the total capacity. So this could be a 6,000-pound head unit. And that's the one that has really been our flagship at Great Lakes, just because it can do everything. It's got the really heavy duty thick seal pads, and it's just a little bit more money than what the MK2 is. But as a contractor that is like, hey, I'm not going to just do all precast stuff. I'm not just going to do the natural clefted finishes. Like I want to be able to put in outcropping walls and heavily textured materials, like that's the one they're going to want.
Yeah, no, I think Jacob, you nailed it. You said it better than I would have. And yeah, when it comes to our products, there's two distinct groups. So there's our higher flow line, which is what we call our B line, and then our M line, which is our low airflow line, which is the MK2 Grizzly Micro, and then the B line would be our Blizzard. So pretty much and what happens is with the higher flow line, it's a turbine based system, whereas the M line is a vacuum pump based system. And what makes those very different is the volume of air that they generate. So liters per minute is what we go by. So the B line generates around 3 to 4,000 liters of air per minute, depending on the model, and then the M line will draw anywhere from 100 to 400 liters per minute. So there's a large discrepancy there between the amount of airflow both lines draw. And the benefit to the B line is that they're going to work on both porous and non-porous material. However, they don't draw a lot of a high level of negative pressure, so not a lot of vacuum. So they don't get a high lifting capacity. So you're kind of stuck lifting material under 1,000 pounds. But if you're looking for a versatile vacuum lifter that does everything, like Jacob said, the Blizzard Hoist is a great system. It's a very modular system. You can use it with hand attachments. You can use it in a two-person setup. It's still light enough that it's not too much of a nuisance. It's around 40 pounds with the handles, 45 pounds. And then it's going to give you that ability to lift up to 1,000 pounds of both porous and non-porous product. And then obviously the M line, which is our flagship. So the MK2 and the Grizzly in particular. If you're handling non-porous products upwards, of anything over a few hundred pounds to 6,000 pounds, it's going to be your best option.
Like, what was kind of like the starting point of MQuip? Where did you guys start out of, and how did that all come into play?
Yeah, so it's quite an interesting story. So what happened was so I was working up in construction in what we call, Northern Ontario, which it really isn't northern. It's like, 3 hours north of, what we call the GTA, or the Greater Toronto Area. So
Okay.
this is what we call cottage country. Yeah. So when we were working up there, the company that we worked with, our construction company, was they basically worked alongside or partnered with a landscape company, which is Rockscape, who they do incredible work. They're incredible people, and a few other landscaping companies too. We're using these battery powered vacuum lifters to install the natural stone, and this area specifically is filled with granite. So a lot of these in the cottage countries, this granite was being installed at these cottages, and a select few of these landscapers were bringing in these vacuum lifters from Scotland to install this natural stone. Long story short, my dad ended up borrowing one of these units to install natural stone at his cottage. And he pretty much asked the question, what are you guys doing with this product? And the guys that were bringing in at the time, were just using it for themselves and had no intention of selling it to other landscaping companies. So my dad partnered with a few individuals, and they started bringing in these vacuum lifters to distribute across. At the time it was just Ontario, to other landscapers installing natural stone. And yeah, so we originally started out with partners with a few landscapers. Their businesses got a little too busy. At that time, me and my twin brother, were graduating university. So what happened was my dad needed help starting the business and growing the business. We were coming out of university and didn't have any jobs lined up. So we hopped on board and started selling vacuum lifters. So initially, we started out as a distributor for European product, Scottish products specifically. And what happened, as we grew as a company, we learned that, our demographic, specifically in North America, required specific, they had specific needs or requirements out of the vacuum lifters that they're looking to get. So we took all the feedback that we were receiving from our customers, and we implemented it in designing and manufacturing our own. So we started this transition around 2016, 2017. And yeah, now we have a core of vacuum lifters that we manufacture, in Ontario.
My other question for you is, do you have, in this like journey of starting this whole thing and this whole process of distributing and getting like new clients and all this stuff, do you have any standout like stories maybe that are funny or cool? It can be inspirational, but just like fun stories that you've heard from some of your some of the vendors or some of the customers that you've had?
Life changing and game changing our equipment has made, their work and how it's changed the industry as a whole. And, I think since we started, in 2014, which, 12 years ago now, which is hard to believe,
Yeah,
it happens, it progresses so slowly that we don't realize, how much of a difference, not only we've made in the industry, but how much we've changed as a company as well. And it's also for me, it's our customers, our longtime customers that, bought our equipment, took the risk and spent the money with us to buy the equipment in 2014, as we're very much it was in this industry specifically, it was new technology. And those customers still coming back to us today for, service or buying new equipment because, their original equipment is just, it's aged and it makes it no longer makes sense to service, which I think is also a testament of the equipment itself too, is how long it lasts. It's not really a good business model. And I've heard this from plenty of our customers. We're like, your equipment's too good, it lasts too long. Like how do you guys stay in business? And I think it's, that's the main reason why we're still in business is our equipment's good. It holds up to the job. Those customers that we've seen, you know, uh, 12 years ago are still coming back for new equipment, and we can still service their older equipment, and yeah, the customer service that comes with it. So I
yeah,
think our core is just supplying, you know, quality equipment and providing that strong customer support, and as the two main reasons why we're still here today. But yeah, I think for me it's just hearing the good feedback from our customers on a daily basis, and seeing our long-term customers still coming back and purchasing or renting or servicing.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, because I think, you can have a product that is good, but if it only lasts a little while, it's like it's a lot easier for somebody to just go out and source something different, try something new. Whereas when you know that like a product is gonna last and is high quality, like, yeah, of course it's gonna make you want to keep going back. And then that makes you guys probably propel you to keep moving forward and keep developing new things. Speaking of, how long would you say like one of those like suction pads lasts? I know that there's a few different sizes and things, but like what's like the longevity of those?
Yeah, so there's wear items on the vacuum lifters, the seal being the main one.
Hmm.
But the average lifespan is typically a season to 2 seasons, depending on you're using it and how you're caring for it. So and they're easy to replace.
Yeah.
So, and they're relatively inexpensive to replace as well, depending on the size of or the type of steel it is. But yeah, I'd say 1 to 2 seasons for the seal. There's air filters on the equipment that prevent debris from getting into the vacuum pump or the turbines. Those need to be those are wear items as well and should be looked at or monitored monthly. And then the equipment itself, typically lifespan on the vacuum lifters or the heart of the vacuum lifters is 4 to 5 years. So and the replacement on that is a little more expensive, but
You're getting 4 to 5 years out of it. Like that's yeah.
yeah, and then the actual structures of the vacuum lifters, we're seeing, upwards of 10 years, depending on the model. And yeah, I mean, we hear with today's technology, especially, the planned obsolescence, model. Say like for example, the iPhones. You're pretty much on. Some people are getting new iPhones every year or over 3 to 4 years when the software is no longer software updates are no longer available for it. It's like we're able to update our older vacuum lifters, so specific generations, with the new technology that we're releasing now. So
That's
it's yeah, we make it so that our equipment's universal. We're not changing the dimensions of the units so they're not compatible with older vacuum pads, for example. We make sure that each platform is, we can make it, we make it as last as long as we can under, obviously with the changes in the industry, sometimes we have to make adjustments and that changes the design of the vacuum lifters. But as part in the past 8 years, we haven't changed much in terms of design, just updating the technology.
so how would you say like how quickly can someone implement MQuip into their workflow? Just thinking about like in a week's time or whatever. How does that work? How do we go from nothing to something?
It's very quick, as I think the biggest hesitation is, is the cost of the equipment itself, which when you compare it against, say, like an excavator or a rototilt, it's very inexpensive. but very quickly. So once the contractor or the customer realizes the need or the efficiencies of the vacuum lifter, and once they purchase it and then implement it into their systems, the learning curve is very straightforward. It's instant.
Yeah, and I would say it could even be easier. We do offer rentals for the MK2 and the Grizzly at Great Lakes, so it could be as simple as like, "Hey, I need to put these steps in today. I'm not sure how I'm going to do it yet." And then we're like, "Well, we have this vacuum lifter. Work on these steps, and you can take it with you today and bring it back tomorrow." So I would say it's a pretty quick adaptability kind of thing to go with the vacuum lifting, which is great. I mean, our customers know all about how to, ebb and flow with the job site needs, and I find that I everybody has been really well adapted to using them.
What are some hesitations that you've heard? Maybe Jacob, you can touch on this too, but like what are what are customers saying that they're like, "Oh, I'm hesitant to do this. Like maybe I'll rent it, but this is why I'm not going to purchase yet."
I would say the first one is it only runs on an 18-volt battery. And I'm like, yep, it's going to run actually all day or some more on an 18-volt battery. So I'd say that's the first hesitation would be that it's a battery powered unit. Second hesitation is, what happens when the unit cuts out or if it ever cuts out, what's going to happen. Being that it's a low flow unit, we're maintaining a vacuum. I'd say it's very unlikely that we're going to ever lose power. And if some event that we did, there is a safe working time to be able to put unit materials back down. I'd say maybe the third hesitation would be more so like, is it actually going to work on the material? Like, is the seal going to conform to the material or not? In every event, as long as the right standard or heavy duty seal is applied, it's worked. So I'd say those are probably the big three that I experience. I don't know about you, Justin.
Yeah, no, I think when it comes to those hesitations, the rental component is very important. So, we initially, when we first started the company, we're running around, driving, across Ontario to demo our product, which is very time intensive and cost intensive. But once these contractors started using our equipment, within an hour they'd make a decision whether they were going to purchase or not, and almost always it was a purchase. So I think having the ability to rent or rent your equipment to your customers, like Great Lakes, prime example, you guys supply a large variety of different materials. And if you have a customer that's like, I'm buying these steps, but how am I going to install them? And it's like, well, you can rent this for a day. And then I don't know, Jacob kind of touched on it, but for us, it's within that 24 hours of them using it. It's either like, well, I'm going to either keep on renting it and for future jobs, or if that's something that they're doing a lot, they're just going to end up spending the money buying it because they see the efficiencies. So I think the initial hurdle is obviously, just getting them to try the equipment and use it. And then once they've used it, they can make that decision for themselves, whether it's something that they can spend the money on then or continue to rent depending on their application case.
Yeah, for sure. I definitely agree with that. It's kind of like, what's your scope of work for your business? Are you 80% hardscapes, 20% lawn care? Are you more like 50-50 where it doesn't make sense for you to quite rent it yet? But I definitely would agree that most people will know if it's right for them within the first hour.
That's great. That's awesome. So I asked Justin this earlier, but Jacob, do you have any funny stories to do with MQuip, or maybe somebody that bought it and didn't know how it worked, or just anything that has come up? And I know I didn't prepare you for this, so you can take your time, but
Yeah, I wouldn't say anything too funny. Yeah, I do get some of those like, how do you get it to release? I'm like, well, just slide the blue collar back down. Just little stuff like that. Sometimes, why isn't it working? And like the battery's not clipped in all the way. It's sitting in there, but it's not quite locked in. So nothing super funny, which is good. I mean, no funny and heavy material moving is a good in my book, I'd say.
say that too. As I was saying it, I'm like, actually, maybe that's not a great thing if we had a fun story. But do you have any like great testimonials of maybe somebody that's come in and said like, I used this on a job, I was hesitant, and this is what ended up happening, and it was fantastic.
I mean, I think for everybody I've ever had one rented out to or bought one has all just been overly impressed about what its capabilities are. I would say, and I don't know how public this story is, but one of local contractors in Grand Rapids picked up the back of their truck with the MQuip, they just sucked it down onto their bed and give it a little tug. So it's definitely able to do a lot more, in not just in the hardscapes realm, but like Justin said too, there's other sectors it could be applicable to. I would say one of the coolest things that I've done recently with the Grizzly was to do a vertical lift with it. We do a lot of pillar cap type products, other products that are stacked vertically, and really haven't had a need to have to lift them vertically just at the yard. But we did the other day when splitting a crate. I was like, let's do it because I don't want to break this thing. And I know that it's going to do it. So that was a really cool use case for us.
Yeah, that's amazing. Is there anything else that you guys would like to add to this that our audience should know about MQuip?
Yeah, we're still very much a small business that's just looking to provide solutions to our, our hardscape and landscape contractors. And then, with us just, the our niche being vacuum lifting equipment, we don't get into too much else. Like I said, we do get into clamps and maybe some other smaller accessories, but very much the core is our focus is the vacuum lifting equipment. It's us improving that technology and branching out into other sectors. Uh, so yeah, I just know that when you're looking at vacuum lifters from MQuip, that this is all we care about, and this is all that we do. We don't get into hand tools or edging or other industry related products. It's the focus is vacuum lifting equipment. So when you do get into a vacuum lifter, I wouldn't hesitate to reach out to us, ask us the right questions, let us know your applications, what you're using it for, and then we can help recommend whether, which one of our vacuum lifters is going to be suitable to your product. And that way we can ensure that we're getting you a vacuum lifter that's suitable for their use case. Because we just really want to make sure that at the end of it, that we make our customers happy and that they're happy with our equipment and use
Awesome.
our great partners like Great Lakes for resources as well. Like Jacob, is a wealth of knowledge.
Yeah.
He probably better at guiding people as to what our products are good with, what they're capable of lifting just based on the materials that are in your yard. So yeah, I basically I just go off of what I hear and what I see in a
Mhm.
very small scope because I'm not in the field every day. And Jacob, he's so familiar and with with your materials and what our equipment works on is that you guys act as a great resource for not only us, but our customers.
Yeah. Yeah. We've taken a lot of Jacob's knowledge and put that into a lot of different resources. So if our audience does have questions about like what's right for your job, that we have definitely a space to go for that. But Jacob, I don't know if you want to touch on that and like just kind of like how we can add this to any order. Like this can be something that we throw on a truck.
Yeah,
Yeah, is there
yeah.
else?
I mean, and it doesn't have to be just in Michigan either. We've done plenty of work with people specifically out of the Chicago area and out of state other places and just helping them make the decision. If you're asking 20 questions, we're on the right track. You want to ask the questions up front because it is a significant investment. Understandable, it's not an excavator still, but it is a tool that is gonna be a significant investment to small business, large business. So yeah, ask the 20 questions because it's going to be important that you feel comfortable moving forward with it because, as we've learned over the last couple of years and in Justin's experience, like we can know what materials would work well with different setups because what's nice about the MQuip is a Grizzly, MK2, hoist, they're all interchangeable. We can get the right appropriate pad. We can understand that, surface area is related to the amount of lifting capacity we can do, and not all rocks are created equal as far as their dimensionalness. When we look at a lot of our stone, we can understand that, a 9 to 12 inch outcropping is going to have a lot more surface area on it, whereas something that's maybe 24 inches thick, there's just not going to be a lot of surface area there. And we can have a better conversation that, is a Grizzly going to be the right solution for it? So
Yeah.
I would say ask the 20 questions and then let us, put a quote together, get an estimate for like, hey, here's a quote for just a base unit and a pad, or here's a couple other pads that might work for your specific needs. So let us quote it. We do keep quite a few units in stock, between the MK2. I think we're trying to have like 3 of them sitting in our yard. Same thing with the Grizzly. We want to at least have a couple of those in different pad varieties. So just ask us the questions and let us, just put numbers to it for you.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's great. I think too, just something else that like makes us different is that like we care. We aren't just trying to, throw together a quote for you or to try to sell you the product. Like we actually want it to work. We want this to
Yeah.
be we want you to choose the right thing for the right job because we
Yeah.
care. We don't, we're not just trying to sell you something like Home Depot or something.
They might
Um
all be the same Grizzly unit, but each person's setup is going to be a little bit unique to them.
yeah.
Generally, I see like there are a couple like go-to setups that we found that work. Like the 70 by 30 pad with the MK2 is just like bread and butter. Like that works for most people, but it's an individualized approach. Again, we just want to make sure that, hey, like, are your materials going to work with this setup? Yes or no? And we
Mhm.
can work that out. Same thing with the Grizzly. Like most people are going to go for a 75-35 pad. This might not work, depending on the use case. We want to make sure, like, oh, you're actually lifting a 3,000-pound rock. Well, this pad isn't going to work for that situation. Here's one that's going to fit those needs.
And I just want to add on to that, with the equipment and providing a little additional value to what you guys do as well. I know you're mentioning like, let's not make a sale for the sake of making a sale, right? So say you have a customer come in that wants to buy steps and then has that like, oh, how I'm going to install that. And now you have the option of providing them, a rental of like a Grizzly or an MK2 to install those steps. And hey, they get that job done quicker, and maybe realize, hey, maybe I can buy more steps, install these because I now know how simple it can be using the right equipment. So yeah, I think just with what you guys do as a core business and having our equipment on hand just makes a lot of sense, and gives you a little added value there for your customers, just looking for an easier experience with the installation end.
Definitely. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Well, thank you guys so much for joining me and for just kind of sharing a little bit about this. I think that it's I'm leaving with just like this, okay, it's okay to ask questions. It's great to ask questions, bring all your questions so that we can just accommodate for what you have and that we can provide for you and again like always help you succeed and help you grow your business. But yeah, thank you guys so much. Where can we just find out more? How can we get in contact with you and learn more about MQuip?
Yeah. So, I mean, our website's a great resource. I would start there. It'll have our live availability on what's available for the MQuip units. For anybody watching the podcast, you can reach out to Jacob at GreatLakesLandscapeSupply.com. It's just my personal email, or check us out on our YouTube channel. Just check out all the videos that we have available first, and even feel free to just touch base at our orders at inbox. So.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And then I know that we have talked about an event coming up, so maybe stay tuned for that where you can come and test out MQuip.
Awesome. Yeah, and if anyone ever comes to the yard, more than happy to do a live demonstration with them. It's really cool just because, I mean, you can suck it right to a poured concrete floor and you're like, try and lift it. Like, let's have
Yeah,
a strongman competition. It's always fun to do that.
awesome. Well, thank you guys so much.